So we've got a super busy day today. We have 15 Deco bubbles to personalise with vinyl, and then I think I've got an orb and another bubble that I need to do as well. So the first thing to do is go and get everything out of the car and bring it into the house ready to get started. Then they're all out of the bags now. That took a lot longer than I thought it was going to. So we've got 15 empty 24-inch Deco bubbles. They are Qualatex bubbles. They are all tied onto Mono Filament line. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that on the camera, but it's a very thin, like fishing wire type line. This is a £7 one, which is perfectly adequate for what we are doing. We've got them just on the standard foil weights here, and the customer used to actually be a balloon artist herself, so she is going to be adding, I think, flowers and ivy and stuff to these. So she wants them to look really simple and as if they are floating in the air just on their own. So we are going to add a vinyl decal to each one of these. We've got 15 of them, as I said, 5 with one design, 5 with another, and 5 with another design. And then over the other side of the hallway, just be careful that I don't get tangled up in this fishing line, there is a baby feet bubble. Hang on, just coming through to the other side. So we've got this baby feet pastel bubble, which looks beautiful. That's got to have a new baby decal on it, and this is what the finished article looked like after I'd put the design onto the balloon. And then I've got a pale pink Amscan orbs with a pale pink and lemon chiffon collar on it. That balloon's gone down, so we're going to have to replace that. And then this is having, I think, 18th or 21st on it. So that is the job for today. It's going to take a while, I reckon. Let's crack on and see how long it does take. First thing that I'm going to do then today is measure my bubble. Now I know I do bubbles all the time, and you've probably seen quite a lot of videos of me doing bubbles, and I do them nearly every day of the week. The designs are 3 different wordings, and I want them to be quite big on the design. So I just want to make sure with my ruler that I've got enough size there to do it. So I'm thinking to do these about 21 centimetres in width. And then I think I'm going to go for probably about 23 as my max on there. So 21 by 23 is the size that we're aiming for, thereabouts. I want them all to look quite big on the balloons. I don't want the design to be tiny in the centre, because that will look a bit odd. So let's go over to Cricut Design Space now and get the designs all sorted out for these balloons. Right then, so this is the text that I'm working with today. So I've got Thomas Dundas Keane, christening day, and then baby TDK1 today, because it's actually his birthday today, but then his christening and his party is on Saturday, so a couple of days later. So I've got all these to do today. So we've got 5 of those 5 of those and 5 of those. And I said that my sizing was going to be about 23 by 21, didn't I? I can't actually remember, but I think that's what I said. So I'm going to jump into Design Space now on my MacBook Pro, and we're going to work out the designs and get everything sorted. Okay, here I am then in Design Space. I've got a blank canvas at the moment, but as you can see on the right hand side, there are 3 other designs that are hidden. And those are for the baby feet and for the orbs, so I'll show you that first. So we've got the baby chahal for the baby feet one, and I've got that at 21 by 19.8 centimeters. And then the other design that we've got on here is 2 sides for the orb. So there is Happy 18th Birthday Sierra. So that is going on to the 2 panels on the orb, and the sizing on that is 22 by 13, thereabouts. The font that I've used for Baby Chahal and for Happy 18th Sierra is Hello October. It was downloaded from Creative Fabrica, and I will put all the links to the fonts and everything that I've used in this video down below for you, so you can check those out if you want to. So let's hide those again, and let's start work on these ones. So first of all, I want to grab myself a text box, and the font that I'm using I've already set is Brittany's Signature, and this one again is another font that I've downloaded from Creative Fabrica. So I'll link everything for you again down below for this font as well. So I'm going to start off with just typing in the wording that I need, and I'm going to do each design separately. As you can see straight away, there is a bit of a fluctuation in the sizing of the letters. Now this is something that I'm going to sort out with a little bit of formatting. So obviously that number 1 to me looks far too small for this design. Let me just zoom out so we're at 100% so we get a bit of a better idea of what everything looks like. The number 1, as I said, is a bit small, not too keen on that. I also don't like the way that this font spaces in Design Space, and that could be a personal preference for me. You might really like the way that it spaces, but I am a little bit picky when it comes to this sort of thing, so I will format all my text manually. So I'm going to start off with the christening day one. And I think what I'll probably do is speed all of this up, because it is quite a long process and it takes quite a long time to do. Because what I'm going to do is actually ungroup every single word, and I'm going to move each individual letter so that it's how I want them to be placed. As you can see there with christening and day, the letters are touching one another, and I always try to avoid this when I'm using vinyl on balloons, because when you come to putting the vinyl onto the balloon, it's much easier if all your words are separate. If you've got them touching one another, it is really easy to get little bubbles underneath your vinyl, and it does make it quite hard to apply. So with christening day I need to move that down, and then baby TDK is all touching one another, so I definitely want to move that apart. And then with that number 1, what I'm probably going to do is add a offset to it, make it a little bit bigger and a little bit more chunky looking, and then I'll be able to rearrange that on my screen as I want it to be. If you'd like a full-length video on how I do format my text, please comment down below and I'll do my best to do that one for you. This is the final design then. I'm happy with everything that I've got on the screen. So now all I need to do is duplicate the amount that I need, and we can get ready to get everything cut out and applied onto the balloon. Okie dokie, here is the vinyl I'm using today. It's Oracle 651. The reason that I'm using Oracle today is because it's really easy to weed and it's super quick to do. I know that I could use a cheaper vinyl for the balloons, but I know that this is going to make my life so much easier. The white tape, I think it's 450 or something. I will clarify on the screen if I've got that number wrong. I don't get on very well with. It does stick to itself. It's very tacky on the back, and when you are weeding it's very hard to do, especially if you're using a thin font. So I'm going to be using Oracle 651. The setting that I use to cut this is premium outdoor vinyl with the pressure left at the default setting on the machine. I am using a fine point blade today as well. So I'm going to get this cut out, and to aid me in cutting each piece to be the right size, I'm going to be using this Crafter's Dream quilting square. I use these all the time for cutting this sort of thing because it just makes life easier. I can pop it down onto my piece of vinyl, Each square on here is a centimetre, so it really helps me to size all of my vinyl correctly, and it does help with getting everything nice and square. When I'm cutting this, I'm going to probably use my rotary cutter as well, which is somewhere over here. So I'm going to use my rotary cutter to cut this, make sure they get all the pieces the right size, and then I will get everything set up and cut on my Cricut. The next step then is to get the vinyl placed onto the mat. So I'm using a standard grip mat today. I'm just going to pop that at the top, just get rid of that little bit of card that's on there. So don't forget that your Cricut doesn't cut all the way to the edge on your mat. There are some little tiny little sticky out lines that show you where it will start cutting from. So I'm just going to pop this down, and I'm going to use a brayer to make sure that it's really well applied onto that mat and it's nice and flat. If you don't use a brayer, you might want to use a scraper, but I would always recommend covering the edge of your scraper with a piece of felt or something soft, just to make sure that your scraper doesn't scratch your vinyl. Especially if you're using a chrome vinyl or a specialty finish vinyl, you may find that using a scraper will scratch it. So put something over that edge, just like a piece of felt, or I've got this coaster here that I sometimes use, and you can just go over there like that and make sure that it's nice and smooth on there and it isn't going to damage your vinyl. So that's ready to go. Let's hop back over to Design Space and sort out the settings. I'm starting off then with the Christening Day decal here. So this is the one I'm going to do. The vinyl is on the mat ready to go. So I just need to choose my base material now. And as I said, I use premium outdoor vinyl for this one, leaving my pressure on the default and the fine point blade as recommended on the screen. So what I'm going to do now is pop this into the machine and cut it out. Because I've got quite a lot of designs to cut today, what I'm going to do is just cut one of each and just apply it to the balloon and make sure that I've got the sizings and everything correct and I'm happy with it. I don't want to go and cut 15 different decals and then find out that actually I don't like the size of it. So you can't actually see this very well because of it being white. But I'm going to just start weeding this one. This is the Christening Day one. So let's just lift in the corner. I'm just going to start pulling back as I go along. As you can see, this Oracle 651 weeds so nicely. There's no extra glue or anything like that on the vinyl, so it comes off so easily. Let's just pull that back, and that's it. All we need to do now is pull out all of the centres of the letters, which is super quick to do because it's quite a big design. I'm using the True Control set today, but because I've got some small pieces in there, I may well switch out to this pin pen for those, just because it's really super sharp and it just makes it a little bit easier to weed. So if you need to change your tool halfway through, don't be afraid of doing that. That is the Christening Day one weeded and ready to go. I'm going to cut the other two and then I'll go into the hallway with you and show you how I apply them. Here's our three designs then. So we've got Christening Day, Thomas Dundas Keen, and then Baby TDK one today. This is my favourite ever transfer paper. It's light tack. It is from Deco, and I am going to just grab a piece of this. Let's just get this knife and just whip that bit off there. This I'm going to use for something else, so I'll keep that to one side. I'm just going to pull a piece of this out, and I'm going to start with the biggest one, which is the Baby TDK. I'm going to pop it down onto there, and then I am going to use my rotary blade again just to cut that as close to the edge as I can. And I'm hopefully going to be able to use this piece of transfer paper for quite a lot of the balloons, so I won't use too much off my roll. Now what we want to do, now that we've got that on there, is just give it a really good burnish. So we're just going to use the scraper again, burnish that down, and again on this side. Probably didn't need that much actually. Look, we've got quite a little bit left over. I'm going to give that a really good burnish, make sure that everything is stuck nicely onto that transfer paper. Then what I do to get this off is pull back my transfer paper and I fold it back on itself completely. So now you can see that is going to be a really nice crisp pull back. And then all I'm going to do is keep it flat against the desk and just pull back that backing paper. The backing paper on Oracle 651 is really thick as well, so it's quite easy to work with. I'm going to pull that down here as I go. And then again, I'm now completely straight across my design. I can pull that all the way back. And that is done and ready to go onto the balloon. So let's nip into the hall and get this one applied. So when I'm putting vinyl onto balloons, this is where I like to do it, in the hallway. Our hallway is a pentagon shape, so it's got a perfect angle in this corner to hold a balloon and keep it steady, ready for putting the vinyl on. So this is perfect for this task. So what I like to do is get the balloon nicely pressed up against that corner and try and get it as still as I can. And normally what I like to do is have the balloon to be roughly my own eye height. These are a little bit higher today, so I'm going to be using my step stool just to make sure that I am looking at it at the right angle. So I'm going to first of all get my balloon in front of me, and then I've got my design here, and I'm going to just pop that on there myself so it looks nice and straight to me. And I'm basically just eyeballing it, and then what I do is run my finger down the centre, and I'm going to go for that T on this occasion. And then what I do is work out from the left to the right, and then I'll do the same on the top letter, and you'll want to go over your letters so that they are going to be nice and smooth on there, okay? And then if you find that you've got a little bit at the top like I have there that's not going to be smooth, just leave that. Come over to the next bit and work over the other way. Where you've got a whole word like baby, you want to try and get it nice and flat on there, and then the B will be the last thing to do. So right, here is the design then. That D is a bit dodgy, so I'm going to just be careful with that when I pull it back. And I do the transfer tape removal the same way that I do the backing paper removal. Just keep it nice and flat against itself, and then just pull it back. And you can smooth everything down with your fingers as you go. If you've got any little bits that are lifting, just be mindful that you could have a bit that isn't quite stuck down enough. That usually happens when you've got things like this tail on this Y. It's nice and flat. Let's pull that back completely. I want to salvage this piece, so I'm going to use it again. So what I normally do is just stick it on there. Now is the time to make any small adjustments to the letters on the balloon. So if you've got any bits that have lifted or anything that needs a little bit of extra help to stick down, now's the time to do that. There's that finished design. It looks fab on there. It's a good size. So now I reckon all the others are going to look brilliant as well. So let's crack on with those and get them done.
2 hours later.
They're all finished then. Here is the finished designs. You can't really see them very well in here because there's so much background noise with them, but they've all got their messages on them and they look really, really good. I'm going to just put them all back into the bags now and pack them all up ready to go back to work tomorrow to be dropped off at the hotel. I just thought I'd show you that I did manage to use the same piece of transfer paper for every single balloon. So this piece of transfer paper has applied 18 vinyl decals because the orb has it on both sides. So it looks a little bit worse for wear now. It's definitely very wrinkled. It's not very sticky at all, and it feels very well worn and very thin now. So it just goes to show that you don't need to keep using a new piece of transfer paper for each balloon. You can use, what was a dog? You can use the same one over and over again. And that is the end of this video. So I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to drop me any questions or comments that you've got down below, and I will try to respond to you as soon as I can. And I'll see you soon for another video. Bye.